Warning, this video contains strong language and graphic photos. Viewer discretion is advised.
On the street, and I walked past her. And when I walked past her, I said, "Ma'am, you shouldn't be selling the snow like that." And she said, well, she didn't have nobody else to do it, and they wouldn't deliver her mail as long as, the path was blocked. So I turned around and I shelled it for her. I proceeded to walk on my sister. I'm a walker, so I like.
Hey y'all, my name is Leanne and welcome to Hooked, where we will be telling some true crime stories and doing some crochet projects together. On today's episode, we will be doing a winter headband and also taking a look at the Cleveland Strangler case. So strap in, it's going to be a bumpy ride. To start, you will do a foundation chain around 21 inches, just enough to kind of fit all the way around your head with just a little bit of space in between. So, it'd be something like that. Mine's is stretchy, of course. So have a little bit of space like that. And we will be doing half double crochet for about 11 rows. So you'll do that and you'll half double crochet into each stitch, chain one, and then turn your work, and it will look something like that. And I will show you how to do a half double crochet. So we'll wrap around, stick through that back loop, pull that up. We'll go through one loop, go through two, all three. Do it again. So we'll pull that up, go through one, and then we'll go through the remaining three. Pull that up, go through one, and go through the remaining three. Janice Webb was 48 years old. Family members recall her being the family jokester who enjoyed pulling pranks. After a trip to Los Angeles in 1995, her life took a dark turn. She started doing drugs and was in and out of prison for multiple different crimes. But even through her personal struggles, she tried to keep her family together until she went missing in June of 2009. Emile Hunter was 47 years old, was a beautician and a mother of three. Family described her as a fighter. She was an avid bookworm who loved the classics, but she struggled with a drug addiction, and she went missing in April of 2009. Crystal Dozie was 38 and was a mother of seven, and described by her mother as her responsible child, the mother hen. After one of her children died, she began to struggle with the drug addiction, and she went missing in May of 2007. Shonda Culver was 33. She spent years without a stable home before rebuilding her life and moving into some apartments in the Woodland Hill Park area. Family and friends recall her acts of kindness, like taking plates to people living in their cars. But she unfortunately struggled with a drug addiction and was in and out of her family's life. She went missing in June of 2008. LaShonda Long was 24 years old and a mother of three. Family members say she was strong-willed and sassy, but drugs became a part of her life. And she went missing in August of 2009. Michelle Mason was 45 years old. She left Cleveland as a young adult to go to New York and New Jersey. She would occasionally check in with family members while battling a drug addiction. She moved back to Cleveland in hopes of turning her life around. Her family says that her last years were spent of happiness and personal peace. She went missing in October of 2008. Tanya Carmichael was 53 years old. Family say she loved life and worked hard to provide for her two daughters. She worked as a medical secretary and also a bartender. She also earned her barber license and real estate license. In 1985, she gave birth to a son. Unfortunately, not long after, she became addicted to drugs, and she went missing in November of 2008. Kim Smith was 44 years old, and even though she was struggling with drugs, she took amazing care of her disabled father. Friends describe her as an artsy person who loved to sing. She went missing in January of 2009. Nancy Combe was 44 years old. She made some choices that she wasn't proud of because of drugs, which landed her in prison. She felt like she wasn't a good mother, so she devoted herself to her five grandchildren. At some point, she befriended Anthony, who lived in her neighborhood. And one day in April of 2009, she just vanished. Turner was 38 years old and was a mother of six. She struggled with drug addiction for most of her life. She entered different rehab programs and would be sober off and on. Her family says despite her drug addiction, she was a good person. She went missing in September of 2009. Lisa Forson was 31 years old and was adopted as a child. And even though she was loved according to friends, she couldn't overcome the feelings of abandonment. As a teenager, she would frequently run away and became addicted to drugs. She was ready to turn her life around, and then she just vanished in June of 2009. One thing all these women had in common is that they spent their last moments on Imperial Avenue with Anthony Sowell, aka Tone, known as the Imperial Ave murderer, but more popularly known as the Cleveland Strangler. Anthony was born August 19th, 1959 in East Cleveland, Ohio. He lived with his several siblings, nieces, nephews, and his mother, Claudia Gertrude Garrison. Now, Gertrude here, good old Gertie, she was not winning in the mothering department. She would abuse her grandchildren while her own children watched from another room. And according to Leona Davis, which is one of Anthony's nieces, Gertrude would force Leona to strip naked in front of others, whip her with electrical cords until she started bleeding. Even Anthony would rape her for 2 years starting at the age of 10. So we're already just we're not we're not off to the best start. At the age of 18, Anthony entered the United States Marine Corps and was discharged January 18th, 1985. He received a Good Conduct Medal with one Silver Star, a Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, a certificate accommodation, and two letters of appreciation, which is crazy when you think about his later crimes. It's like he was able to save face, you know? He wouldn't come off as this crazy monster, but he really was. And those are honestly the scariest people to me. Spent 15 years in prison for kidnapping, rape, and attempted rape. He was released in 2005. And what happened was a woman was trying to leave his house when he got angry and started brutally attacking her. He bound her hands and feet with a tie and a belt and gagged her with a rag. She said, he choked me real hard because I felt my body tingling. I thought I was going to die. But she was able to escape and went straight to police. After he was released, he started working in a factory. He also started dating Lori Frazier, who was the niece of Cleveland Mayor Frank G. Jackson. Lori had a drug addiction with Anthony, which Anthony helped support, but then he started using drugs and stopped working due to this addiction. He then started to collect unemployment benefits, and people say that he was selling scrap metal to also earn extra money. Neighbors would complain about an awful smell on Imperial Ave. It was so bad that neighbors would leave their windows closed in the summertime. And this was East Cleveland. Most of these homes didn't have AC, so it was just really hot. The smell ended up getting blamed on Ray's Sausage, which was a mom and pop meatpacking company. It got to the point where the city forced Ray's Sausage to replace all of their gutter systems, which cost them thousands of dollars. And yet, the smell was still there. On September 22nd, 2009, Latendra Bullops told police that after a few drinks with Anthony, he became angry and violent. He hit her, choked her, and raped her as she was passing out at his house. When she came to, it surprised both of them, and she was able to escape. Police arrived at his house on October 9th with a 29th, with an arrest warrant, but he wasn't home. Fortunately, he was arrested 2 days later. And when his home was searched, basically just looking for something to state that Latondra was there, they found way more than what they were looking for. They ended up finding two women's bodies buried in shallow graves in the basement. There were more bodies upstairs in the third floor crawl space and also some in the backyard buried. It's, yeah, no. Anthony was held on a $5 million bond at the age of 50. The trial was supposed to start June 2nd, 2010, but was delayed so many times because his attorneys kept needing time to prepare and just to go through all of the records. The trial actually started June of 2011, and he was charged with 11 counts of aggravated murder and 74 counts of rape, kidnapping, and tampering with evidence and abuse of a corpse. He pled not guilty by reason of insanity, but later just changed it to guilty. July 22nd, 2011, he was convicted on all but 2 counts. Jurors even recommended the death penalty. And on September 14th, he was put on death row at the Chillicothe Correctional Institution. Anthony's new defense team tried to appeal his conviction and the death sentence. Three of their main reasons being Anthony didn't receive a fair trial because of the extensive media coverage. The courtroom was closed to the public during jury selection, and Anthony just basically had a lousy legal team, stating that they should have had Anthony plead guilty to murdering the 11 women and focus their energy on preventing the death penalty. They're saying that his Sixth Amendment right was violated. But it's like, who cares? Like, this man was out wreaking havoc on the streets of East Cleveland. No one, me personally, I don't care. I don't care. Well, the state came right back and argued that even if his Sixth Amendment right was violated because of the closed pretrial hearing, it wouldn't have affected the outcome of the trial. Anthony also never denied his guilt or the horrendous natures of his crime. On December 8th of 2010, the Ohio Supreme Court rejected Anthony's appeal, so the aggravated murder and death sentence still stood. But on February 9th, 2021, he died in prison because of an unknown terminal illness. 12205 Imperial Avenue was demolished after Anthony's conviction, and on July 16, 2021, ground was broken for the Guardian of 11 Angels Memorial on the former property of Anthony. And it was dedicated on November 6th of 2021. So you're kind of here. This, of course, is a little smaller than what you'll have because I only did about 5 or 6 rows with this one. On the blue one, I'll definitely do the full thing and I'll post that so that you guys can see it. So we'll just kind of fold this long ways, hot dog style. And then you'll have something like that and you'll fold in the ends. So it'll look something like that. When you fold in the ends, you'll twist one side and just kind of bring those together, just kind of line them up as best as you can. You'll have something like that. You'll take your needle here and you'll just stitch through and make sure you go through all 4 of the layers or all 4 of the stitches. All right, so this is kind of what we'll have after we weave in those ends and tie them off. So we'll just flip that and we'll have that tie in the front. Just have little head warmers or ear warmers. And that, friends, was the horrific story of Anthony Sowell. To see the finished headband I did today of the blue one, and I'm also working on a white one, you can follow me on Instagram at HookedWTrueCrime, on TikTok at HookedWTrueCrime, or join the Facebook group at Hooked with True Crime. Love y'all. Bye.